Dear reader, welcome to my blog, Denationalize Me. I'm Christoph, and I will tell you tonight about your future international freedom. Here you see the worldwide map. There are 206 states in the world, so that means you have 206 opportunities to live a free life. And in this presentation, I want you to show how you can do it. So let's get started. Maybe you ask yourself, what is denationalization? I used to explain denationalization with the 6 W's. The 6 W's are what, why, who, how, when, and where. We start with what. What is denationalization? Well, we can say denationalization is your diversification with the flag theory. That means you can plant flags everywhere in the world. I will show you in a few minutes what flags are. And it's suffice to say at the moment, flags, everything, every service you can use in any part of the world. For example, registering a company. You don't need to do that in your home country. You can do it in other countries too. Maybe you ask yourself then, why should I do this? Why should I denationalize me? Well, we can give 2 reasons for that. On the one hand, it might be a moral issue. On the other hand, it's a utility issue. It's very useful to do it. So I will speak on that later. Who should do it? Who should denationalize himself or herself? Well, I will say everyone. If you're hearing this presentation, I think you're already interested in the topic, so no one avoids you to get started as fast as you like. Of course, there are people to whom it's more suitable to start. For example, if you have a business on your own, if you are self-employed, then it's really easy to implement strategies and just start your free life soon. How does denationalization work? Well, there are a lot of different strategies, like those I explained in this video. We have a lot of offshore strategies. That means you register a company in some other country, you live in that country, and so on. We also have the concept of perpetual traveling. I'm a perpetual traveler myself, so that basically means I don't have a permanent residence. I'm just traveling around the world on a tourist visa, and every few months I change my location. And that makes me tax-free, I don't pay taxes, I don't need to pay social security. I'm just living my free life, work on my projects, have fun, and show you how to do the same. Well, I will go on that later too. So when do you want to do it, if you like it? Well, basically it's as fast as you like. No one can really stop you doing it. You need just to get started yourself. Maybe you just need some money to earn, to have some assets, or just start a business, get some income before you can start. But basically, you can just buy a flight, buy a plane ticket, fly out next week, and start doing it. Yeah, where you should fly, where you should work and travel is another story. There are, like I said, 206 different jurisdictions worldwide. Of course, not every jurisdiction is good to live. I guess you don't want to live in Somalia or in Iraq. But still, there are dozens, if not even hundreds, of very interesting jurisdictions you probably don't even know about. Or did you hear about Kiribati or Angola? These are really interesting locations because a lot of locations are totally different from what we are used to in like Western Europe and the US and Canada and Australia. Because there you can basically live tax-free, you don't pay social security, you live for very low living expenses, but still have a really luxurious life. So yeah, I will tell you about that later too. Now, we're just starting again with the first W, the what. What? Diversification is flag theory. Well, the basic premise of flag theory is live where you are treated best. So basically, you just search the location on Earth where you are treated best, where the government, the local people, the local companies can provide you with the best service. So basically, flags are the aspects of your life which can be planted globally. So you can choose the flags yourself. You can choose yourself how many flags you want to plant, which fence you want to flag, and it's totally up to you. So you don't need to use all the flags. You can just use what is suitable for you. What are the flags? Flags are, like I said, a broad concept. I used to speak about 12 different flags, that's quite a lot. In its like beginnings, the flag theory was meant to be only 3 flags. The 3 basic flags were your permanent residence, meaning the location where you're living permanently, probably in a country with low income taxes. The second flag was the company, where is your company registered? Most beneficially, of course, in a country with low corporate taxes. And the third and last flag would have been your wealth, your assets. Where are they? Where's your bank account? Probably it should be in a country with no capital gains taxes and where you get high interest, high dividends. But yeah, flag theory is really flexible, and many other people, and me also, came up with some other flags. One very important flag is your citizenship. For example, if you're living in the US, the US still wants taxes from you even if you don't live in the US. They tax you on your citizenship. And that's why many people from the US want to expatriate. They want to give up their citizenship, but of course they need a new one. And I will show you later in this video which opportunities you have to get the new citizenship. Like I already said, permanent residence is an important flag because you can live without residence. I'm doing it now myself, but in the long term it's almost always more beneficial if you have a permanent residence somewhere. That means you get a local ID card in some country, you might pay social security, you might even pay taxes if you like the country, but there are a lot of countries where you don't have to. I won't speak about this permanent residence too much in this video, but of course you can always speak with me and I can show you all these countries where you can do that. I will, however, speak in a few minutes about company registration, in which countries of this world you may found company, what benefits you have from that, and what cost you might expect. The same is true for bank accounts, your wealth assets, you want to diversify them in the world because of different reasons. I will go on that later too. We also have, well, investments. You want your money not only to be protected, you want it to grow. And that's quite hard, especially in investing countries where you get very little interest, where you get almost punished to save. But it's not like that in other parts of the world. In many countries, many developing countries, you still get your 10% interest if you just deposit something on a local bank account. And there are many other opportunities in terms of resources, natural resources, like forest, even wood, and also in the digital world. Maybe you heard about Bitcoin. I can tell you a lot about Bitcoin, about a lot of opportunities now with the blockchain. That's the technology behind Bitcoin. And that's probably something which will change the world a lot in the next years. So yeah, investments are important, but even more important is the fun you have in your life, of course. Yeah, you want to live a free life, I know, but I think you also want to have some fun in your life. And as it turns out, often it's the illegal things which provide very much fun, but you can do them in your country because they are banned. And normally they are not banned for the right reasons. Because this fun things is not killing people, it's only about doing something you want, where you can only harm yourself, but you can't harm others. For example, you can do gambling. For example, you can take drugs, but you can't do it in your country. But you can do it in other countries. You can take drugs in Netherlands, in Uruguay. You can gamble in Hong Kong, in Macau, in Las Vegas. But you may not do it in your home country. Well, and this fun thing, it applies to almost everything you can do for fun, of course. Um, you just have to choose the right country to do what you like with the best results. Very important is also the topic internet and communications. We all know we get controlled, we get monitored by agencies like the NSA. Hello NSA, I think you're hearing what I talk here. So especially for self-employed people, for entrepreneurs, opportunities are that you have your online business, and it's important where you host it. Where are your servers? Which domains you have registered? Which emails you use, email service you use? Do you encrypt your email? That are questions you should question yourself about today. And I won't speak about these topics in this video, but there is a lot of to be won if you research these topics a bit. For example, very good countries for hosting are especially Iceland, all the Scandinavian countries. They're not good for living, they're really high taxes, but they have very good privacy. Yeah, another flag is family. Family involves, of course, a partner. You might want to like to find a partner. You might also like to have kids. And this might be controversial, but of course, you can even do things like birth or marriage tourism. So you can just provide the kids from birth on with another citizenship by just, going together with your wife, or if you're the wife yourself, to another country, give birth there, and automatically your child might get the citizenship of that country. But that really depends on the country. Same is true for marriage tourism. This is, of course, a really controversial thing. Probably you want to marry because you love someone, but in some cases, someone maybe wants to marry you because he's eager to get your citizenship. And at the same time, you can do the same in other countries. Health is another very topic which you can, outsource in the world. There's a lot of medical tourism already happening. A lot of people are going to other countries to get operated because it's much cheaper, but still the quality is very high. For example, they go to Costa Rica, they go to Turkey, they go to Malaysia, and save a lot. They live in very good environments, in very good climate, and get healthy often much sooner. as then as they would stay in their home countries. If you have a business, you're likely to have employees, and the thing of the factory also is, of course, to outsource them. You might not want to outsource your employees if they're good, if they're loyal, if they do very good work. But if you're doing internet business, if you are working remotely anyway, chances are that you might benefit from employees in other countries where they work very motivated for much lower wages than in your country. Another issue is a car. We all want to be free, but we have sometimes to get some compromises. Cars are not involved in that. You might not have a car in your home country anymore, but it's still possible to license a car, to register a car. When you're abroad, even if you have not a permanent residence, you might even get your driver's license easier in other countries. For example, in Egypt, there's almost no practical test, and the theoretical test is very easy. And you basically can get your driver's license in Egypt within 2 hours when you live there, of course. Other flags you can plan, for example, insurance. Mostly, especially health insurance, is much cheaper on a global scale as it would be in your home country. Other things, things like education. I have a lot of families who want to homeschool or unschool their kids coming to me because I'm from Germany, as you might know, and in Germany, homeschooling, unschooling is banned. Germany is, together with Sweden, only country of the world which forces people to school. So everyone who doesn't go to school gets fined or even thrown into prison. The parents or the kids have to go to psychiatry. So I have a lot of homeschooling families from Germany to emigrate to other countries, to just get started with a freer life, to teach the kids themselves or let the kids teach themselves. And yeah, education is a broad topic. It doesn't involve only homeschooling, it does involve other things as well. And I wrote and much more because in the end, it depends on you what you do about the flag theory. It depends on you which flags you choose, and you might choose even other flags. For example, you can plant flags with addresses, different addresses worldwide. You might have an address in this fancy building in New York, you might have an address at some beach condo in Thailand. It depends on you. So why you should do it? Morality and utility, I already told about you. You might have known on my blog, I got like 2 slogans. The first slogan is because your life belongs to you. The second slogan is more time, more fun, more money. Because your life belongs to you, that's the moral thing behind it. I think everyone has self-property. You should not be enslaved by collectives like government, society, even family. You belong to yourself. It's your life. You can decide what you want to do with your life. And by applying the flag theory, by applying internationalization strategies, you might give up some rights, maybe the right to vote, the right for social security, but honestly, who does need that? But you also give up obligations. You might give up the obligation to pay taxes, to pay into social security, to serve your military, to get killed for your government, home government. Of course, you might be a patriot. That's no problem. You can still do the same. It's just the general nature of government where you should beware of. So you should go to those governments in the world which treat you right, which treat you best, which want to serve you, and not stay in the governments who wants you as a servant. The other thing, yeah, That's the more useful thing, the utility aspect of the flag theory. More time, more fun, more money. Because this new lifestyle can give you a lot of more time, a lot more fun, and a lot more money. Because on the one hand, you have new opportunities. On the other hand, you avoid a lot of restrictions. For example, in terms of money, you can multiply your wealth by investing it in the right countries to much higher interest, to much higher opportunities. On the same hand, you also protect your wealth. There's a lot of inflation, a lot of expropriation going on, a lot of other things I will speak later briefly about. And you need to protect your wealth, of course, in the first hand to even be able to multiply it. Another big aspect, for me it's the even more important aspect, is your time. With applying a global lifestyle, you are really flexible, you're really mobile. You can just pack your bags, fly tomorrow wherever you want, and do whatever you want. And you avoid being restricted by too much bureaucracy. Of course, you can't escape bureaucracy totally. Registering offshore companies, caring for offshore bank accounts, getting stuff done with local immigration is bureaucracy. But in the end, it's only some big bureaucracy you have to do once. And after you've done it, you're basically free to do whatever you want. And there's minimal invasion in your life, as you would have when you probably stay in your home country, where bureaucracy wages war on you every day. Of course, Factory provides you more fun, or at least to say more life. You can enjoy your life more. You have full sovereignty. You can do what you want, how you want, with whom you want, when you want. That's really something nobody can steer you. Even not a crisis. There might be a lot of crises in future in the world. You never know. You don't want to hope. But there might be an economic crisis, like the global economic crisis from 2008, 2009. It's just removed a bit later because the policies of the governments and so on. They just want to get it moved a bit later to get rich now. And by applying the global lifestyle, you can prepare for these crises because you're basically anti-fragile. Maybe you know that word. It's a term which the bestseller author Nassim Nicholas Taleb coined. So anti-fragile means when other people, when the world generally is suffering, you will profit. You will profit under pressure. Like for example, you know the country Switzerland. As always, in terms of times of wars, like in the Second and the First World War, Switzerland was flourishing. Yeah, the world was very bad. But all wealth, all intelligent people, all people who didn't want to fight, came to Switzerland and let that country flourish. And the same you can do now. You don't need to stay in a war country anymore. You can go to a neutral country, to a country where you can live without fear of being shot, and you can profit in this country from a lot of new opportunities. Maybe you're already growing quite excited about those opportunities. I promise you there's a lot of more to see in this presentation, so please be with me. Are you suitable to live this lifestyle? I think you are. Everyone is, but especially self-employed people, entrepreneurs like me. For me, it's no problem to apply this lifestyle because the only thing I need is this laptop. I can work from everywhere. In the moment, I'm just sitting in my flat in Malta. Malta, if you might not know it, it's a small island, a sovereign nation in the Mediterranean Sea, and Malta is a very nice place to live, and it's also very beneficial for taxes, for other stuff to live here. So what I want to say, denationalization is possible for everyone. But the need of location-independent income in its most extreme form means you can even be a perpetual traveler. So you might want to choose, you just stay in your home country and just pick one flag like a bank account and save your wealth. That's totally fine. But if you really want to profit the most from all these opportunities, you should become a perpetual traveler like me. So what does perpetual traveling mean? I will go into that in the next slide. But basically it's you need location-independent income. You just work from everywhere, online, with your own business, or as a self-employed programmer, or writer, or designer. And yeah, don't live with a fixed residency. You just change locations as you like, as you have to concerning your visas in other countries. And for this location-independent income, like I said, every non-physical service you can imagine might provide opportunity. There's even a growing movement of startups, of companies where they enable even employed people to work remotely if they want to. So how? Offshore strategies and perpetual travel. Here we have it, perpetual traveling. But perpetual traveling, like I said, is the more extreme form. Offshore strategies, however, can be applied by everyone. You might just do some offshore banking, or you might register an offshore company. If you are suited to do that, I'll tell you later. Or you open offshore deposit. For example, I have an offshore deposit for gold in Singapore. I don't trust my home government in Germany to be a good conservator of gold. I think when a crisis comes, they will just steal my gold. So I just put it somewhere in a state with whom I trust. Singapore is a very stable, a bit autocratic state, but they're able, a lot more in my eyes, to protect my gold. I trusted them. You might also just shift your residence. You just want to emigrate. You don't want to do some of this offshore banking, of these offshore companies. You don't need to. If you just want to emigrate, I can help you too. There are a lot of nice countries in this world, and I can consult you about the immigration policies, about the life quality, about places to do, places to work, whatever you might imagine. Another thing for offshore strategies is to get global documents, for example, driver's license. If you can't get a driver's license in your country, you might get it in another country. You might even if you're lost your driver's license by driving too fast, you might get it from another country again. So these are the exciting opportunities you have by planting different flags around the world. And like the biggest thing, of course, for offshore strategies is the second citizenship. You might want the second citizenship to escape your home country, to enable more travel freedom, but also as kind of insurance in the long term, in the future. Because you might not know what your home government does. Maybe it taxes you, like in the US, on your citizenship. Maybe it will even revoke your passports for any issues, whatever, and you're essentially a prisoner after it. So it might be very useful to get started with the second citizenship too. In the end of this presentation, I will tell you which opportunities you have to get a second citizenship. You also have the opportunity to be a perpetual traveler. That means you apply a lot of the strategies at once, at the same time. And with this perpetual traveling, you are location independent. You can just basically work from wherever you want, live wherever you want. And yeah, you are PT. That means perpetual traveler. Like I said, you travel all the time. Of course, you are free to choose how much you travel. If you travel every 2 days, every 2 weeks, or only every 2 months, that's totally up to you. Because you are permanent tourist, a PT, so PT has three meanings: perpetual traveling, permanent tourist, and prior taxpayer. Permanent tourist means you basically live as a tourist. You are on tourist visas in other countries, and you might renew them if possible, or you might do a visa run. So that means you just go in one country, just immediately come back, and you get another 3 months visa in that country. And you basically just live in a country until they tax you. And before they are able to tax you, you just move the country. Another thing is you are prior taxpayer because of that, because you have almost no tax obligations if you live a life as a perpetual traveler. If you're not born in the US, of course. Sometimes you might you don't are able to avoid tax because some taxes, like indirect taxes, like value-added tax, you just have to pay it. But of course, if you want to be very extreme, you just go to countries with very low value-added tax, to countries with no such taxes at all, which still exist. Well, when should you do it? As fast as you like, I always say, but you should keep in mind the following. The future is uncertain, and you maybe want to prepare for the unknown. And because you are flexible, you are mobile, you can prepare much better for the unknown as when you would live in your home country. I already told you this concept of anti-fragility, and that really benefits you a lot. Because there might happen a lot of things in future, we don't want to hope, but there's a real possibility of having the next economic crisis. Some people already think there is one. There is, natural catastrophes which could happen. Like yesterday, I just read a report about the high probability of volcanoes erupting and destroying a lot of life on Earth. And if you're living near a volcano, that's not good. But as science goes, volcanoes can be can be monitored. And if there's a real possibility of a volcano erupting, you can just fly directly to the other side of the world and possibly survive any catastrophe. Same is true for internal conflicts. If there's civil war, you just pack your bag, go to another country. Same with wars. Pack your bags, go to a nice neutral country, survive there. Of course, totalitarian politics is something you might experience more and more in your daily life. So if your home country gets more totalitarian, it's time to pack your bags too. In some signs of that might be capital controls. Maybe you're from Greece and you couldn't get your money the last autumn. You still could have got it if you would do offshore banking, if you would have your capital in other countries. But if you have your capital only in your home country, it might be very hard to get it out of your home country or to get it out of the bank at all. Another reason you should move your money is expropriation. That happened like 2 years ago in Cyprus. Overnight, a lot of savers just lost their money. It was just cut by government to support these failing bankers. And there are other possibilities as well. Inflation, even hyperinflation, is a real possibility. It already happened a lot in history. I don't want it to happen to your savings because they gone very fast. But there is the opportunity of that happening. And if you protect your money, if you want to protect your money, then it won't harm you. There are other things as well going on. For example, some people, some politicians discuss a cash prohibition so that you're not allowed to have any cash anymore. You just need to pay by a credit card. And of course, credit card can be monitored, cash cannot. So cash is essentially freedom. Money you hold in your hands is freedom. And you don't want to lose that. You just go to countries where you can use that money in your hands, your freedom, which you can smell. And of course, there are so many other arbitrary rules of countries, a lot of regulations, a lot of taxes, a lot of other things, which especially in Western industrial countries, especially in my home country, Germany, are getting unbearable. And by shifting to another place, by living a life as perpetual traveler, you don't need to follow these rules anymore. You need to follow some rules, of course. You might not kill people, steal from people, whatever. The law is true for you as well. But a lot of things, a lot of really things you don't enjoy doing, you don't need to do. You can lead your company as you wish to. You can lead your life as you wish to. And that's the great thing about being a backpacker traveler, the great thing about relocating, the great thing about applying offshore strategies. So last thing is where should you do it? There are, as you might know, 206 different jurisdictions in the world. That's quite a lot. You might be from Canada. It's the big thing in the northwest, but there's so many other countries. Here I said, here I planted myself a few flags. I said the green flag is where few opportunities are, but the risk is less as well. The yellow flag for medium opportunity, medium risk, and the red flags for great opportunities and much risk. Of course, you cannot generalize that, but this gives an approach to these countries. These flags are true mostly for offshore opportunities. For example, in America, you have not that much opportunities, but not much risk either. Same is true for example East Asia, for Hong Kong, Singapore, for New Zealand, Australia, or even South America, Uruguay, Chile. There are also countries where you can do a lot with medium risk, like the Seychelles, Mauritius, Maldives, some Pacific islands, or the Caribbean, or even Eastern Europe. Latvia, for example, does a lot offshore banking. But there are also regions where you really should be there. There's a lot of much risk going on, but there might be also a lot of opportunities. For example, in West Africa, Gambia, Liberia, or in the Middle East, in Lebanon, and a bit more north in the Caucasus in Georgia. And even Asia, like countries like Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, they're really developing, and there's some risk, but the opportunities are great as well. So we will continue with three case studies actually. One case study about offshore banking, one about offshore companies, and the last about second citizenships. I already told you now the 6 W's of denationalization, why you should, what denationalization is, why you should do it, who can do it, when you should do it, and how to do it, and of course where you can do it. And now we start with offshore banking, and it's basically about the 6 W's again. First, I tell you why you should do offshore banking. Offshore banking is just moving your money to a savings account, to some other deposit in another country, to either protect your wealth or to multiply your wealth. You basically can find 13 arguments for that. One argument is moral, so you don't want to support maybe fractional reserve banking. That, of course, depends on the bank you choose. There are a lot of offshore banks who are involved with that as well. But there are a lot of banks as well who just finance themselves over fees, over other issues, who just have 100% capital themselves. And if you don't believe in fractional reserve banking, then this moral argument might be valid for you as well. But from a utility perspective, there is the wealth protection aspect. So you can escape from capital controls, from cash prohibitions, from inflation, from expropriation. You can protect yourself against catastrophes, which might shut down banks in your country. You might even avoid tax, legally of course. You might just pay no capital gains taxes on your account. And of course, the banks themselves are an argument as well. They might be much safer, much more liquid banks than you have in your home countries where banks probably are failing. Also, you can multiply your wealth because many of these offshore banks have quite innovative financial products. With innovative, I don't mean like derivatives or other papers which are traded in New York on the stock exchange, on the daily day trading market, but things which are really useful and which are quite safe, but still enable a lot of opportunity. You also have much easier access to private banking. Chances are, if you live in a wealthy country, it would be very difficult to get into private banking. You would need $1 million to get started. But in other countries, other very good countries, you can get started with private banking with a sum of maybe $50,000. And you get a really very good service for it. For example, you get higher interest. One of my favorite countries nowadays is Georgia, a little state in the Caucasus. Georgia provides very high interest. You can easily get 15% on one-year deposits there. You can easily open a bank account. And Georgia is a great developing economy. It has it has a very free market, a very good history of reforms, less corruption than many other countries in that area, and it's quite safe to be there. The only really issue there is the relationship with Russia to the north. Russia invaded 5 years ago, but as it looks now, Russia wouldn't try it again. And the country, I would really recommend to look into that country because you really might profit from your savings if you invest a bit into Georgia. Offshore banks also enable you to have easier market access. For example, you want to invest in some market but need a local contact person, then offshore banks can provide that too. You can, of course, minimize your taxes with the right strategies. Of course, you need to stay legal. Easiest is if you're a perpetual traveler, then you can minimize it very much. If you live in a high-tax country, it depends on your local legislation, but I'll go on that later too. There's also the possibility of tax-free foreign source income. So if you live in the right country, you can just get your income there, don't pay any taxes if it's just coming from a foreign country, for example, from a foreign bank account. So what are the requirements of banks in offshore banking? Well, it's hard to generalize, of course, but there are like two different types of banks. The one are banks with more a low reputation, and there are banks with a higher reputation. The lower reputation banks are mostly small private banks in mostly small states as well. And there are, on the other hand, these big multinational commercial banks you might know with a high reputation. You can rank them according to some criteria, for example, minimum deposit. It's quite easy in a low reputation bank to open an account. You may need between $500 and $50,000 to get started. Whereas in high reputation banks, you might need a lot more. You might need $50,000, but some banks will even don't take you if you provide $1 million or even $2 million. In terms of offshore company, if you need a business account, many of the small banks will accept you. They will open a business account for you. Many of the Thai banks is a bit more difficult. You often have to meet the bankers in person. You have to provide a business plan. They really want to know everything about your business. And you can't open it in many countries. You often have to go about some branch in your home country and can only open it inland. So what is about remote opening? It's possible in the small private banks, for example. There's a bank in the Caribbean where you can just open an account from the comfort of your living room. However, concerning higher reputation banks, it's often very hard to open them remotely. You first normally have to open a Premier account with much money in the inland, and then you might have the opportunity to shift that money to another country. For example, you live in Canada, you open a Premier account, put 200,000 into in Canada with, I don't know, HSBC, and then you might have the opportunity to open another account in, say, Hong Kong. Yeah, for the fees, the bank earnings, banks, the high reputation banks, don't really deserve their high reputation because most of their money is printed. They are in the fractional reserve system, or they speculate with your money, or they provide credit to other companies or banks or people, and with that they basically create money from nothing, which is, at least in my opinion, from a monetary economic perspective, very bad for the economy as all. So on the other hand, if you choose smaller banks, they might have higher fees, but they don't do many things like the high reputation banks. They charge you fees and they finance themselves through that fees, and they have mostly 100% capital themselves. So your money is very safe. If there's a bank run, it doesn't harm the bank at all, because every money the bank has, they have it in real in their account, in the deposit. It's really backed. Yeah, well, you can do offshore banking. I did again this reputation thing. The world is big, and a lot of countries still doing this offshore thing. Maybe you heard about some monitoring initiatives like the Common Reporting Standard that was just introduced this year, early 2016. A big agreement by the OECD countries and many other countries to implement automatic information exchange. So basically, a lot of information will be provided between the states in future to avoid illegal tax avoidance. But still, there are a lot of countries who are not involved in that scheme, and also a lot of things where you can escape that monitoring quite easily. Of course, I don't want you to escape tax illegally. That's not what I'm propagating on my blog. But of course, you should have a right to financial privacy. Privacy is very important for me, and I think it's your right to have an account where no one can see what's on your account and how you will use your account than yourself. So yeah, what are good destinations for offshore banking? The most hard but most safe jurisdictions are probably in Europe, like many of the small states like San Marino, Liechtenstein, Andorra, Monaco. But even a bit lesser known state like Latvia, I told you before, it's quite famous for a lot of offshore banks. Even Malta, where I'm living, has a very nice bank, the Bank of Valletta, and some other banks. So yeah, it's up to you. Financial centers are quite quite important. Hong Kong, Singapore, even Panama, the United Arab Emirates. It's quite hard to get an account there, but it's possible. You should, however, be careful in these red countries like some Pacific states in Liberia, Gambia, the Seychelles, Comore, Maldives. It's a bit of a risk to have a bank there. It might work, but it's not really recommended. Should probably either go to some of those yellow states, like here Dominica, Santa Lucia, San Vincent. They might not be very safe, very stable politically, but your money will be very secure there. And Caribbean, there are a lot of offshore banks, and often it's quite easy to open an account there. So just need to try it. Well, now we go to offshore companies already. You might ask yourself if you need an offshore company, or even if you're suitable for offshore company. Offshore companies can give you a lot of things. Mainly, you might use them to save taxes, because a lot of offshore companies, you don't pay taxes at all. You also don't have to do bookkeeping. It might be anonymous. And there are other things involved, like you can register companies with no paid in capital. You can freely decide over the shares. You don't have high operating costs, and so on and so on. I made a little, table about it. You can either choose about your jurisdiction to register your company with a high reputation, or you can choose a jurisdiction where you can lead your company more freely. Often it's quite of a conflict between these two, so you almost always have to do some compromises. But of course, there are also strategies to combine both a high freedom, both high reputation. But of course, this will cost you more because you basically need 2 or even more companies to do it. So countries who has a high reputation, if you found a company, probably it's the EU, it's the US, might even be some states I put in the middle here, like Hong Kong or Singapore, or Dubai. The thing is, in EU and US, it's quite easy and quite cheap to get started with a company, but you might have to pay a lot of taxes. On the other hand, Hong Kong, Singapore can even be tax-free. Then there are states, like the typical offshore states, like Belize, Panama, Seychelles, or Caribbean islands, where you don't pay taxes at all, and where it's not that expensive to register a company, like in locations like Dubai or Hong Kong. But on the other hand, their reputation is quite low, and you might have problems. So if you look on that in detail, high reputable countries have higher taxes. Sometimes you might have an opportunity not to pay them. That really depends on the structure. You have an accounting obligation. You have to keep books. These companies are often very transparent. Everyone knows who is what in this company, who's the director, who's the shareholder, and so on. But on the other hand, they have a high reputation. You won't have any issues with banks. If you want to open an account, if you want to do it in the internet with Amazon, with Google, with other payment providers like PayPal, it would be easy to open an account there. You also profit from lower fees, at least in the high-tax countries. Of course, if you choose Hong Kong or Singapore, or even Dubai or Labuan, I will go on that later too, then you might have very high fees. So you basically can see these countries in the middle here are the best like compromise between reputation and freedom, but they cost a lot more than both of them here. Another good thing about high reputation countries is they have many double tax treaties, and this double tax treaties may enable legal tax optimization even if you live in a high-tax country. On the other hand, if you don't live in a high-tax country, you might just use a regular offshore company. You don't pay any taxes. You don't have to do any bookkeeping. It's quite confidential. No one will ever see that you operate this company, at least not from the company perspective. They might find it out over your bank account. But on the other hand, you have a low reputation. It might get quite hard to open a bank account. It might be hard to deal with some internet providers. If you want to sell things on Amazon, it might be hard to get them accepted. If you want a PayPal account, a PayPal business account, it might get hard. But there are other opportunities there for you. Fees are a bit higher there. Like starting a Belize, you can register a company for around $700. And you have to pay around $500 each year to get it administered. Other countries are a bit more, like Panama, it's basically the double more or less. But it really depends on each jurisdiction. In terms of fees, Hong Kong, yeah, is a bit higher. Hong Kong, you have to probably pay at least around 2,000 to get it opened, and another 2,000 a year. Same is true for a lot of these other countries. Dubai, mostly more. On the other hand, the US, you can easily open a company in the US for just $150 and pay $100 a month. And in the case of the US, you might be surprised even be tax-free. I will go on that in the next slide. Because you should now know if this offshore thing is suitable for you at all. You can basically decide if you're living in a high tax country, it might not be suitable for you, but really depends. Because some countries have some rules against tax avoidance by offshore companies and some countries don't. These rules are called CFC rules, Controlled Foreign Companies rules. You can easily Google it and see if your country applies it, like most big European states apply it, France, Spain, Germany, UK, and so on. But a lot of European states don't apply it at all, like Belgium or Croatia, Slovakia. A lot of small states don't have that rules, and even on a worldwide scale, there is more countries who don't apply these rules. And what that basically means for you, it's totally without danger for you to open an offshore company. You can just profit from the low taxes with the offshore company, and you don't even have to say your home government that you have an offshore company. You can just operate it how you like it. However, if you are in a country with a CFC regime, you have to be a bit more careful, because a lot of these countries will tax you even on your offshore company. That means if they know you have an offshore company, and basically you always have an obligation to announce them that you have an offshore company, then it gets taxed with the corporate taxes, which are normally due in your country. So if you want to do an offshore company, then it really depends on the case, because most often you would pay even more taxes with an offshore company than you would pay locally to your government. However, I already said, there are double tax treaties and they may enable legal tax optimization. And there are, depending on the CFC rules, a lot of possibilities possible. For example, if you live in the EU, in some EU country, in the EU there is the freedom of goods, of services in the EU, and this enables a lot of opportunities for legal tax optimization. You might just shift your company to states like Malta or Cyprus, which are in the EU, which have a lot lower taxes. And if you structure it right, and this is mostly not very cheap, but if you structure it right, then you can save a lot of taxes. For example, it makes sense if you have profits of 100,000 a year, and you can cut your corporate tax from 30% on 5%, and that's a real saving, even if it's involved with some costs. Well, and of course, I already said in the beginning, you can just live the extreme form of all this stuff, the perpetual traveling, and you don't really have to care about this CFC rules. You can just operate offshore companies however you like. So, offshore companies, examples, where you can register companies is very different. There are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of different strategies, there are a lot of strategies where you even can apply 2 or 3 companies and connect them. I just do really basic stuff here to show you some kinds of the possible things. For example, we have the Wyoming US firm, the limited liability company. My company as well is registered in the US. Maybe surprising, but if you're not a US person, the US is quite nice actually. The US are a big tax paradise. Of course, if you're a US person, they tax you worldwide, but if you're not a US person, they really want you to come there and save taxes in other countries. In this special case, the limited liability company of the US is very interesting for people who are not living in the US or are not citizens of the US because they have pass-through taxation. That means these LLCs are not taxed as an entity, so there's no corporate tax. So in the end, you just have to pay income taxes in the country of residence. But if you live in a good country of residence, or if you're a perpetual traveler like me, you don't pay taxes at all. The big thing about this US LLC is there's even no bookkeeping, but that depends a bit where your income is from. If your income is not sourced in the US, if you don't have US customers, you're totally out of the books. You can just do whatever you want with that company and don't get taxed, don't need to keep books. But when you deal with the whole market in the US, and it's a big market, it might be interesting, then you have to pay taxes, and you have to pay taxes on a flat rate of 30%, which is quite high. And you have to keep books about that too. So this US solution is a very good solution if you want to have an easy company going, because it just costs you $150 to set up and $102 each year to renew it, to get an agent, to get an address in this country, in the state of Wyoming. But this might vary, of course, according to each agent. But if you need the market in the US, of course, then it's not such a good idea, and then you should look for alternatives. So an alternative might be like a normal offshore company that's normally called an international business company, and they're able to be registered in quite a lot of countries. For example, I took Belize here. Belize is a small Caribbean state in Latin America. In Belize, you don't pay any tax on anything. You don't have bookkeeping requirements. And it's a very confidential country. No one will really know about your Belize company. But it has a quite bad reputation. So it's not that easy to get bank accounts open. You mostly need someone to introduce you to a bank, and you have to pay $500 to get introduced, and so on and so on. I didn't say that about Wyoming, the US. It has a bit better reputation, of course, it's US, but because of things like the FATCA, Foreign Tax Compliance Act, a lot of banks don't want you either. But as a foreigner, you might just bank in the US because the US are a tax paradise. The US didn't agree on this common reporting standard, on this automatic information exchange I told you about. So to have your money very private, you might just bank with a US bank. Yeah, Belize companies, I already told you, around $700 to set up, around $450 a year, $500 a year to renew it. Belize mostly is the most cheap classical destination. Likewise, the Seychelles have similar prices, and then it goes steadily up. It's like 200 more, depending on the jurisdiction. A bit more expensive are some Caribbean countries, Panama, and so on. There's also, of course, the opportunity of some Asian countries like Hong Kong. In this case, I chose level 1 because I wanted to show you that it's not possible to pay no taxes, but for some considerations, maybe pay some taxes. With a Hong Kong company, for example, you might decide to either pay 16.5% on taxes or choose to be tax-free. I didn't provide Hong Kong here. I will talk with you about Hong Kong later, I think. Not in this presentation, but sometime on my blog. Instead, I chose Labuan. Labuan is the island of Malaysia, and it has a very interesting company regime, very nice offshore companies. A lot of international companies use this opportunity because Labuan provides you with two choices to get taxed, and you are free to choose each year how you want to get taxed. You either have to pay a flat tax of 3%, or you have to pay a poll tax of $7,000. So basically what you do is you just look on your revenue, and if your revenue is smaller than a special sum, you just do the flat tax, and if it's higher, if you would pay more flat tax than the poll tax of $7,000, you just choose the poll tax. So Labuan, what do you need to set up? It's around $1,500, $2,000 to get it set up. The yearly fees are around $750 to $1,000. Of course, you have to do bookkeeping, you have to do regular things you would have to do with your company in home country, but it's probably less bureaucratic in other aspects, and it has an excellent reputation. You won't have a problem to open a bank account in Malaysia and Singapore and other countries. Same is true for Hong Kong. Hong Kong will give you the opportunity to be tax-free. However, founding costs are a bit higher, fees are a bit higher, you have to do bookkeeping, you even have to do audits, and they're quite strict about it. So you really have to see if it's suitable for you. And yeah, you can just consult with me, of course, about all these topics, and I might be able to find the right offshore company for you. Now we're coming to the last topic of my presentation. It's second citizenship. We already briefly spoke about it. There might be a few reasons to get a second citizenship. On the one hand, you might want more travel freedom. I don't know where you're from if you're hearing this. Probably you're from a good, wealthy country of the Western world, but chances are you are a freelancer from some less developed countries. For example, you're from India, from Bangladesh, from whatever country in the world, Nicaragua, and your passport really restricts you. It's really unfair, I know. I'm German, I have almost the best travel freedom in the world, but you might not to. You might have to get very much visas to live in some other countries. And of course, I want to help you too. I want that you can travel more, and to do that, you need another passport. For other people in probably higher tax countries, it might probably be more important to escape from tax, from military duties, from other issues, and yeah, do it with getting a second passport as an insurance, because you never know what might happen. So this second passport gives you a lot more flexibility. And it doesn't mean that you have to give up your citizenship, your first citizenship, which maybe enables you travel freedom. But that depends really on the regulations of your home country. If you are able to keep the second citizenship, or if your first citizenship, you might give it up. However, in most cases, most countries don't exchange information on citizenship, so you're basically safe to have two, even if it's not allowed by your home country. So actually you have 4 opportunities to receive one. I will speak about it in the next slide. You can, do it according to some aspects of your life. If you have a lot of money, you might just donate some money or invest some money and just get it. If you have a lot of time and no money, or you might not have time, but it's the only opportunity, you just reside in the country for certain years and then you get naturalized. You just apply for citizenship and get it. Maybe you have a language test or another quiz, whatever. If you're very lucky, you just have like the right ancestors. And if you are really desperate, maybe, and don't find a partner either, you might just go the way of a marriage. So let's first talk about marriage. You can immediately get citizenship, for example, if you go to Israel and marry someone from there. The big thing about it is you will also be conscripted to military service for 2 years then, if you choose to do that, and are still young. So there are other opportunities as well. Israel is not very good for travel freedom in the Middle East either, so you really should think about that. After 1 year residence, for example, you can also get the citizenship of countries like Belize, Spain, Portugal, Brazil, and Ireland. Spain is not that good idea because Spain has really high restrictions on people who want to leave the country. It's a really high tax country, and they tax you 2 or 3 years after you leave the country. And if you get a citizenship there, it might restrict you a bit, but maybe it's worth it. You want to live in Spain anyway for a few years, then leave, pay a bit more taxes, and then you're basically free with a very good passport. Other things are you can just live 2 years in Colombia or Mexico, get their passport. It's a nice passport to have and it enables you a lot of opportunities. If you're very lucky, you can just go with ancestry. You might be a Sephardic Jew. That's the opportunity Spain gives to them. You might know in history the Muslims were expelled from Spain, so were the Sephardic Jews around 1500, and as kind of sign of goodwill, the Spanish government granted all Sephardic Jews to come back and get citizenship. Same is true for most Latin Americans. They can just come living in Spain, and after a few years, I think 1 or 2 years only, they can apply for Spanish citizenship as well. But as I have said, it's not the best option to consider because you have to consider some other things with it. Same is true in Italy. There are a lot of people with Italian ancestry, a lot of people in America and Australia, for example. And you can quite easily get Italian citizenship as well. If your father is from Italy or your grandfather, then it might be possible. Israel, already said, you might just return to Israel, get the citizenship as well. Other countries which are quite interesting are Poland, Ireland, and Lithuania. They're all quite nice in terms of travel freedom. They're even nice to live there. They have no control foreign company regimes. They don't have very high taxes. So if you're lucky and get ancestors from Poland, Ireland, or Lithuania, you really should use the opportunity to get a passport from them. Or if you just have money, you might just donate some money or invest it. If you donate money, I show some opportunities here. If you invest it, you normally have to pay a lot of more. Sometimes even double it, sometimes even a bit more. It really depends. For the donations, for example, you can get Peruvian citizenship already for $25,000. However, in that program, you need to be permanent resident for 2 years first, but don't need to live in that country. If you want to have more information on that, just speak with me. Other countries are the Comoros, $40,000. Comoros is not very good country to have citizenship. It's a very poor Muslim island state in the Indian Ocean. So the better options are already getting quite expensive. Like the most cheapest option is Dominica in the Caribbean, which is quite nice, which enables you even visa-free travel to the EU, to South America a lot, to other countries. But you have to pay at least in total with all fees for lawyers and so on involved $175,000. With other Caribbean nations, it's even more. Antigua, Barbuda is a bit around, below 300,000 probably. St. Kitts, which is quite famous for that, but lately has some troubles, so you should really think twice about it to get a citizenship there. Probably over $300,000. And there are also more upscale citizenships able in Europe. For example, I live on Malta, and Malta is very open about that, very upfront about it. They sell citizenships. If you have the right money, if you have $800,000, if you want to spend $800,000, you get the citizenship of Malta, and with Malta you get citizenship of the EU. So basically you can stay wherever you want in the EU, and that's of course is a big opportunity for many people, for example from Russia, from the Middle East, who have a lot of money and need access to the EU, who want to live in the EU with their money. So Malta provides them this opportunity. Same is true for Cyprus, but they even take 2.5 million for it. And Austria even, Austria, this little German-speaking country in the Alps, is known to also get citizenships for very high donations. You have to know some government officials probably, and donate a lot of money, and 10 million to get the citizenship. But Austria's citizenship is basically the best you can have, at least in terms of travel freedom, in terms of like political issues, political things. It might not be too advisable, because I advise a lot of clients from Austria, and a lot of clients from Austria just want to get away from their country as fast as possible. So yeah, basically that's it. That's my presentation. I hope it was valuable for you. I hope I could have helped you. I told you about perpetual traveling, about offshore strategies, about denationalization. My blog is Denationalize Me, and I want to help denationalize you. And now I hope you get some valuable info about offshore banking, offshore companies, and second citizenships, and also some other info I provided you. And maybe you're eager to get to know more, to get to know, to get info if all these things are suitable for you, if you can start in this new life, in this international life, when you're excited about it. And to do that, you need, of course, a lot more information. I understand that. I can give you all the information in this presentation, just to show time. I'm already talking quite long. So what about you and me just talking? We can have a Skype talk. We can have a talk about normal phone, or we can even use the secure messengers. For example, I use the platform Unseen IS in Iceland, which has very good privacy, and we can just talk over that, encrypted, so probably no one will hear what we have to talk. And I think I'm able to help you in a lot of things. Whether you want to emigrate, whether you want to stay in your home country and save taxes, whether you want to have a nice offshore bank account, even want a second citizenship, or want help in any other things the flag theory can provide you. Even if you want to start a company, if you want to get started with freelancing, I might have helpful tips for you. This all, of course, has a price. I'm doing it for a job, for a living. I need to earn some money too. But I think these international opportunities, everyone should have access to them. Everyone should have opportunity to do it. So I basically charge only 99 euros per hour for it. So a lot less than many other people who are doing these offshore things. For example, for some offshore things, you might need to deposit $2,000, or I might need to pay $500 up front for having a call at all with me. You just talk with me, and if you're content, if I could help you, you just pay me the 99 euros. If, however, you think it's not worth it to talk with me, you pay nothing. So easy as that, 100% money back guarantee. You can, of course, pay up front. Many people do that because they probably know they have a good advice with me. But you basically don't need to pay before. Just pay me after the talk if you're content with me. And yeah, you can pay as you like over normal banks, over PayPal, or even over Bitcoin if you have it. So another argument is not only the price, it's my clients I already have. Like I maybe told you, I'm already doing all this offshore stuff for quite a while. I started with my German blog, German-speaking blog, staatenlos.ch. And on that blog, you can find a lot of information in German language. If you don't speak German, you might even use a translator, Google Translator. I know about quite a lot of people who get info from my blog with Google Translator, so you might do the same. And I already do consulting for some time, and my clients are normally very content. So they say, for example, in terms of return on investment, you hardly find a better guy to spend your time with. Yeah, thank you, Michael. I think 99 euros is a valid price for you because you might save 100 times it, even 1,000 times, 10,000 times it if you apply the right strategies. If you avoid paying taxes at all or minimize your tax bill very much, if you live in countries with much lower living expenses than in your high taxed home country, if you do a lot of other strategies I can provide you with. Roughly said, I'm one of the leading experts on internationalization. Well, that might be a bit too early, but I certainly have a lot of expertise, and I hope I can help you with my expertise to get you started with your free life. So basically, I just need some information for you, because normally I mostly handle German, Austrian clients, some Swiss clients. So to prepare a bit for the topic, I want to have your citizenship, I need your country of residence, and maybe if you intend to stay there or want to emigrate, and your business, your job, your income, what you do in the moment, what you want to do, and a bit your motivation, why you choose to have a call with me. I needed information to prepare a bit, because if you are from some country I don't have the info about, I have to look it up before. For example, if there's a CFC regime in your country, how about taxes, how about leaving your country, and so on and so on. And I might give you that information quite easily, have a lot access to a lot of sources where I can find them, and tell you all you need to know to get free. So let me help you live your free life you desire. Just send me an email, christoph@denationalize.me, or just go on my blog on the offshore service page. You find another video I made for you where I explain the consulting a bit more in detail, and you find all the information. You just need to click on the link, send me an email, we schedule a call, and I hope to speak to you soon. Yeah, that was my presentation. You provided your email address for that. I hope it was valuable for you, and I hope to hear from you. If you like the presentation, just give me a mail, just write me. Even if you don't intend to have a call, I would like to hear from you. And even if you have some little questions, some minor questions, of course, I will just answer them for you for free. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope see you again on my blog soon. There will be some content as well. And if not, I will see you in my I will see you soon in our call. Yeah. Thank you for listening.